What's up? I hope you're doing great. I'm Steven, your honest trading coach, and today I want to walk you through how I perform multiple time frame analysis using price action alone in order to make accurate predictions of what the price of an asset may do next, in order to put the odds of success in my favor for all the trades that I place. I do this by identifying things like trend and levels of structure. This type of analysis can work for you no matter where you are in your trading journey, beginner to advanced, and also can work on every asset class, including Forex, stocks, and crypto. So today, I'm going to be walking you through all of my analysis on the top 5 major currency pairs, along with Bitcoin, the Aussie New Zealand, and the SPY, or the S&P 500 ETF. So if that sounds good and you want to learn more about multiple time frame analysis, then go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new and click the notification bell. And I'll talk to you right after the intro and disclaimer. Okay, so let's get started. First off, what is multiple time frame analysis? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It means that you're going from one time frame to another time frame in order to perform analysis on 2 different time frames. Now, for me, what that means is looking at the daily chart for things like trend and structure levels, areas of value, and then dropping down to the 4-hour and 1-hour chart in order to place possible trades. You can do this on any combination of time frames you would like, but for today's examples, that's what we'll be doing. So let's start off on the euro dollar. The first thing I do every time I'm performing top-down analysis or multiple time frame analysis is identify the trend on a higher time frame. Here on the euro dollar, what's the trend? Hopefully you were able to say a downtrend. Remember, a downtrend is when price is consistently creating a low, a lower high, followed by a lower low, and followed by a lower high, and followed by a lower low, so on and so forth. And until this cycle breaks, then that is considered to be in a downtrend, and we are considering that a more likely scenario that we continue that downtrend instead of pushing up and breaking above highs until this happens. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But on the euro dollar, you can see that currently, if we draw out the trend, we have a high, down to a low, up to a lower high, down to a lower low, lower high, lower low, equal high, but as long as we did not break and close above the previous high, we still count this as continuation. So we have continuation of the downtrend pushing lower here, and we have just created what looks like it will probably be our lower high. So the question I have for you at this point is, can we trade right now? Well, sure, you could go down to like really small time frames and look for flag patterns to possibly trade, considering we're in a downtrend on the daily chart, but we're not at any type of area of value right now. So if I'm trading areas of value on the daily chart and dropping down to the 4-hour and 1-hour to place my trades, then what I have to do is be extremely patient. So let me explain what I mean by that. For me, this is when we want to prepare. Is when price is where it is right now. So at this point, I would be preparing. How, you might ask? Well, we just identified that the trend is down, correct? After identifying the trend is down, I want to look for the most likely scenario in terms of where's price going to pull back to and where's it most likely to see resistance that can continue pushing price lower in this downtrend. And for me, the obvious answer to that question is the previous level of structure support that was broken. I like to make an area out of this level, especially if I can get another level in that area. So there's our first hit. Here's our second hit of this support level before the break. So now what I've done is align myself with the higher time frame trend. I've also aligned myself with an area of value I can see on the higher time frame around 1.1186, between that and 1.1123. With those two factors coming together, I can now start to prepare to actually place a trade, because now what I'm telling myself and the way that I'm trading this is if price continues down, I don't have a trade right now for trading continuation, but if price pushes up, then I have an area that I can look for trades on smaller time frames using entry reasons. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll go ahead and push the market forward. We already know what happens here. Price did in fact come up, test our zone a few times, and then has pushed down ever since. So in the same way that that's how we would have needed to prepare in the first place, What do you think our preparation should be now? Well, in all aspects of trading, you're always preparing for the two inevitable things to happen. The two inevitable things are that price either continues lower or price starts to go higher. That's really all price can do. Sure, it can play sideways for a while before this happening, but essentially the only two things price is going to do is either go up or go down. So how do we prepare for price going down? Well, if we see price, this is when our if-then statements start to come into play. If we see price come down, break below these lows, what do you think our next move is? Well, trading's about patience. It's about preparing for these scenarios. And after seeing this break, this is what I will be doing. So this is what I'm expecting to happen. And when I say this is what I'm expecting to happen, a lot of times people are like, oh, Steven, you just get on videos and say price could go up or go down. Don't pay attention to what price does right now. I've already said there's absolutely no trade right now for me. What I'm trying to do is prepare myself for the next trade I could possibly have. I would suggest that you do the same in your own trading. So for me, my preparation is that if price continues lower and breaks previous support, I'll wait for a pullback to that previous support level. And this area is where I'll look for possible trading opportunities. So to give you a realistic example of that, what I'm going to do is place a box right here. And this box is where I'll be waiting for a pullback if we get a break below these lows. Now you may be asking, Steven, do you not see this as a level of support? Should I buy right now? The answer to that is no for me. And here, I'll explain the reason why. That way it actually makes sense. So the reason that's a no is because in a downtrend, like we just discussed, what happens? Price goes lower, makes a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Do you realize, hopefully you do, that every time in a downtrend, price pushes to make a lower low, we eventually get this double bottom scenario. Every single time. We got it here before price broke below. We got it here before price broke below. So unless I have this double bottom as a price pattern that's happening at a level of structure looking left, I'm not going to be using this area as support, because the likely scenario, considering we're in a downtrend, is that this area breaks. That is what's more likely. So why would I use it as support, right? So for that reason, I don't use this area as support. But again, for this coming week, if price breaks below this area that you see right here, I'll be waiting for a pullback into that area and price to continue lower. That is my first bit of analysis here on the euro dollar. Now, I not only trade trend continuation, I also trade counter trend. So what I like to do along with this trend continuation model is also look below the lowest point price has gotten to. If I put a horizontal line on the chart, that's 1.0806 right now. If I scroll left, you can see that that area that did provide a bounce, a push up out of price, in fact, was a level of support. Now, what I want to do is look down and to the left and find my next level of support. And I'll explain why whenever I draw it out. Very obvious here, the next level of support is in this area. So why do I want to know this area that I just pointed out? That's our previous support level, looking down and to the left from where price is currently at. The reason for that is that if price does in fact break below this support level, the most likely area that price will have a pullback from and push up out of is the area we just drew. It's the next area that we can see on the chart where price was supported in the past. That's the area that if price continues lower, it's most likely to have a pullback from. So for me and my style of trading, I'll be looking for two things throughout the rest of this week and next week, probably going to be next week before this happens. Those two things are, if price does continue lower, I'll be looking for buy trades in this area to push the market up. If we do get any buy trades or price pushes up, or at any point we break this low and push up, I'll be looking at this bigger area here for possible sell trades to continue our overall downtrend on the euro dollar. And you're probably thinking, holy shit, Steven, that was a lot of work. Trading is about the preparation you do before you look at a chart. A lot of traders fall into the trap of jumping onto charts and then just placing a trade. Like right now, oh man, I need to buy because we're sitting here at this little zone. Like I gotta get into a trade right now. That was probably funny, but that's not what trading is about. if you don't already have a plan in place for what you were going to do when price got to a certain area, then you probably don't need to place that trade. At this point, I've set myself up for the week ahead. And I did this last week as well. Let me give you an example of that on the Aussie New Zealand. So last week, I sent out something that we call the Pro Trader Report. I'll put an example of that up right over here. The Pro Trader Report is this analysis that I'm doing with you that I send to students in the TTC Forex University every week. And essentially what I tell them is the areas I'm looking at for possible trades. So last week, or it might have been the week before last, we talked about this area being an area I was looking for long trades in. I then got long in this area. We also talked about this area of resistance, you can see right over here, being an area that I wanted to go short from. And if we drop down to a smaller time frame here, you can see that I'm currently short the Aussie New Zealand from this area because I ended up getting the correct entry reasons on my smaller time frames. And I will do a lot more analysis on the Aussie New Zealand momentarily, but the reason I wanted to show you this is because these trades didn't happen because I just jumped on a chart and went, hey, look, I want to place a trade. These trades happened because of weeks in advance that I did all of this analysis. I did this analysis weeks in advance, and the analysis showed me where I want to get in and out of the market. The analysis showed me my preparation, my best case scenario, my best trading opportunities. So if you're not doing this type of analysis, chances are you're not getting involved in those best case scenarios, and that may be a large reason that your trading doesn't look the way you want it to look right now. Let's go back to the euro dollar though before we continue here. I said earlier that price can do two things, right? The only thing we've prepared for so far, although I know it does in fact seem like a lot of work, the only things we've prepared for is if price goes down. So if price goes down, we want to buy, or I don't take this as financial advice. If price goes down, breaks below these lows, I want to buy from this area. And if price goes down and pulls back to these lows, I want to sell from this area. That's all we've done. What about our second scenario? Our second scenario is that price pushes up. If price pushes up, what are we going to do? Another step of preparation is to be prepared for everything that could possibly happen. Well, for me, if price pushes up higher, if we create a higher low, I do not want to trade this as resistance, because if we create a higher low, our kind of more likely scenario is going to be that we create a higher high. So with that being the case, I'm skipping this level, but I still want to be prepared by looking at the next level of resistance price will hit if it does in fact continue higher. So in the scenario that price pushes up, again, skipping this level altogether, I will be looking right over here at this area of resistance on the euro dollar. If price heads higher, the area between 1.15 and 1.14 essentially is going to be an area I look for possible short trades. Price breaks above this area and does create a higher high, this is a place I'll look for a pullback and possible long trades out of. So that's my analysis and total breakdown of the euro dollar. This part of the lesson was mostly about teaching you the process. We'll go a bit faster now through the rest of the currency pairs we're going to look at and through the Aussie New Zealand, Bitcoin, and the SPY. So let's go ahead and move on now. Let me color in some boxes here on the euro dollar for possible buy zone if we break above that high, sell zone if we continue higher. We have sell zone if we break below this low, and we have buy zone if we continue lower. That's the euro dollar. Let's move on now to the dollar yen. Here on the dollar yen, we're actually also involved in a trade, but walking you guys through that is going to make this video way longer than I wanted it to be. So let's talk about the daily chart of the dollar yen and what should be our analysis. What's our first step? What trend is this market in currently? Anyone can tell this is an uptrend, right? Very easy to see this is an uptrend. And if we're in an uptrend, what's the most likely area that we see a pullback to and a push up from? Well, normally when you don't have this happening, that is the previous level of resistance that was broken, which would be this level right here. Now, there's a chance that price does come all the way back to that level. And of course, if it does, I will absolutely be paying attention right in this zone between 116.31 and 115.37 for possible trades for sure. If we get something like this, this will be my next support zone for absolute sure. But In this case, since we've had such a strong move up, we're gonna have to look left a little bit further and find other zones of resistance. So at this point, we really don't have any support levels until we get back down to this area. Am I saying you cannot buy the dollar yen at all? No, our best case scenario to buy the dollar yen is it to continue showing a strength and then buy the previous level of resistance that was broken. That's the best case scenario we could see for a possible buy trade. But if we start to trend lower, then maybe you're someone that uses Fibonacci's. I'm not saying there's no chance at all, but for the way of trading that uses nothing but multiple time frame analysis alongside price action, we don't have a trade to buy if we start to drop here on the dollar yen until this previous area of resistance. So with that being the case, let's now look above price. So we have to prepare for two situations, right? If price heads lower, what do? We've already got that determined. Here's our support area. If price heads higher, well, first, as we just said, if I get a break of this area, then this area right here will absolutely become an area I look for possible buy trade. So best case scenario, we get a break of our previous high. We pull back into the 124.65 area between that and 123.84, which will be an area I look on lower time frames for possible entries. And later in the video, I'll discuss some of the ways that I enter trades using this type of analysis. But that is one thing I'll be looking for. The next thing I have to look for is what? I need to look above price. If price can do two different things, go up or down, I want to know where price is likely to start pulling back. For that, I have to look above where price currently is. So price is currently at resistance. We have to go way, way back now in order to find the next level. And it's actually not even on the data that we have. So at this point, the dollar yen, is in no man's land going higher. So I don't really have any way to determine an area that price is likely to push down from. Because essentially the dollar yen has not been this high since like 2006. And that's totally fine. Guess what we do in that case? If price goes higher, we don't look for sales. We just sit on our hands. Being patient and waiting for the perfect opportunity is what creates success in your trading. Let's go ahead and move on now to the dollar Swiss. The dollar Swiss here, another trade that we have on. Again, I'm not going to go through it because this video is already going to be quite long. Here on the daily chart, what trend are we in? That's a tricky one, right? That one's tough. We're not really in a trend. And you could argue that we've just broken above highs and we're in somewhat of an uptrend. But is this an uptrend that you really want to be trading? Not me. I don't want to be trading. And I know, but that's from a different strategy because we're long right now. So don't pay attention to this. But this uptrend in terms of exactly what we're discussing today is not something I'd be buying into at the moment. And if we go where price is right now, do we have any type of trade? No, but what are the two options we have? Price can either go lower or price can go higher. If those two things happen, when you prepare like this, trading becomes really simple. The only way I'm searching for buy trades is if price goes up and breaks above this level of resistance. Then I'll look for buy trades on a pullback to this zone between 94 and 94.46. That didn't make any sense. 94.46. And if price goes lower, I'll be looking for buy trades at this area of support. And if we get down, going crazy here. If we get down to this area of support, what does that mean that we've broken? That means we've broken previous support. So this is kind of what I would expect. If we do push lower, I'll be expecting some type of pullback initially from this level, looking left right here. See how straight I can draw this? Not at all. Initially, I'll be looking for a pullback here. I'll be looking here for possible short trades between 0.9117 and 0.9088. That's my possible short trades. I'll be looking for long trades at previous support between 0.8958 and 0.8932. If we push higher, I'll be waiting on a pullback into 0.9446 between that and 0.940. And if we continue higher, what's the only other thing I really need to look at? That's our next level of resistance looking up, which is going to be right in here. And why is that the next level of resistance? Because if we look left, this is the last level of resistance looking up from the highest point price has been, and to the left, this is our last level of resistance, and it's been tested multiple times. If that's the case, this is our likely scenario if price heads up to be an area that price starts to pull back from. This area is between 0.9543 and 0.9511. So that's what I'm looking at here on the dollar Swiss. Let's move on to the pound dollar. We'll start to speed up dramatically now since you know the process. What trend are we in? We're in a downtrend here on the pound dollar. Since we're in a downtrend, what can price do? Price can either go down or up. If price goes down, what am I going to be looking for? Hopefully you already know this. If price goes down and breaks below these lows, then they become the most likely area price will pull back to and continue the downtrend from. With that being the case, I have a zone that's going to be right in here. And when price, or if price does break that zone, then I'll be looking for possible short trades on a pullback up into 1.3052 and 1.2981 between those two areas. If we continue pushing lower, what's another thing I want to look for? Where's the area where I'll most likely see the pullback? The area I'll most likely see the pullback is the low below the one that was just created by price, looking down to the left from this area. Let's put a horizontal line there. Look left, look down. The next area we see that is a low. The one I'm going to pay attention to is this one right here. We have this big area that price used as support, pushing the market higher. So this is where I would expect price to come down to before pulling back. So at this point, we have our area that I'm looking for possible buy trades on the pullback if we continue down in this downtrend. This area is between 1.2814 and 1.2722. If we do push up and price goes higher, what are the things that I'm looking for? First off, if we create a higher low here, looking something like this, then I can, in fact, look at this high if it gets broken as a possible level of support. So the first thing I'll be looking for is, do we get a higher low and do we break above this resistance level? If the answer to those things is yes, then I'll be looking in this area for possible buy trades. If we break this area, pulling back to 1.3297 and 1.3239 will be an area of value that I'm looking for possible buy trades out of throughout the next couple of weeks. And if we continue higher, then this area of resistance right in here will be where I expect the pullback to start happening from, between 1.3626 and 1.3573. So that's what I'm paying attention to on the pound dollar. Let's move on now to our final top 5 most popular currency pairs. That's going to be the Aussie dollar. On the Aussie dollar, we have a really cool situation now. First off, let's start from the beginning. What's the trend of the Aussie dollar? Well, if we look at the most recent moves out of price, it's a bit of consolidation. I'll give you that. Sure, we have a little bit of consolidation here, but we have just broken the highest highs of the consolidation. And also the most recent move out of price is a push up to a high, a pullback to a higher low, and a push up to a new higher high. For me, this would call out an uptrend. This would call out, start looking for buy trades. If I'm going to look for buy trades, then what am I going to look at? I'm going to look at previous resistance that was broken as the next level that could possibly be support. So always think about the preparation, as in price can do two things. As we've already discussed, price will either continue heading lower or will start heading higher. The first thing I'm going to prepare for, since we're in an uptrend, is where do I want to buy if this pullback continues? If this pullback continues, the place I'll be looking to buy is between 0.7406 and 0.7363. That's where I'll look for possible entries on lower time frames. And now what I want to look for is, what am I going to do if price starts to head higher? Am I going to look right here and go, okay, cool, this is a resistance level, let's sell? No, because we're in an uptrend where resistance levels consistently break if we continue this uptrend. So that's not what I'm going to be looking for. Instead, I'll be looking for another high above price, which would be somewhere around this area. So if we continue higher, then I'm looking at this area as being an area that could provide the push lower, the pullback in this uptrend. This area is between 0.7853 and 0.7795. If we get a break of this resistance level right here, Meaning, this is I know it's a lot of preparation, but again, guys, this is literally how I trade, and how every trade that I place gives me an advantage using this system is by doing all this preparation. Because now the comforting fact is, if price does push up and create new highs, I'm not sitting here with FOMO going, oh shit, I missed the move. I'm not sitting here just placing random trades hoping I can capture it. I'm already prepared. I know for a fact that if price pushes higher and breaks above this previous level of resistance, the only way I'm getting into a buy trade is a pullback into this major area of value for my perfect trading opportunity around 0.7623 and 0.7575. If that happens, I'll look for possible buy trades in this area. If price continues lower, I'm prepared. I know I'm looking for possible buy trades in this zone. So this preparation takes away a lot of the emotion out of my trading. So that was the top 5 major pairs. Let's now dive into Aussie New Zealand, Bitcoin, and the SPY. Before we jump into the other pairs, if you want me to do all this analysis for you instead of you having to learn it and apply it to your own trade,